First of all, before we get started, let me tell you this is not a sales pitch. There is nothing to buy at the end of this video, nor do we have any kind of political agenda. However, someone needs to make you aware of a very serious, life-threatening situation that is currently going on in your own home. And although the government released this information in a publication I'll share with you in just a minute, big corporations have managed to make sure to keep this information hidden from the public eye and hidden away from scrutiny. This video may upset you, but someone needs to make you aware of this problem before it's too late. The truth is, slow death has already started inside your house. The question is, will you be able to prevent it in time? Whether you realize it or not, before 8 a.m. this morning, you were already directly exposed to over 24 highly toxic, cancer-causing agents that are responsible for skin, lung, bladder, kidney, nasal, throat, esophagus, brain, central nervous system, as well as prostate and ovarian cancers, in addition to serious damage to your cellular DNA. In case you're skeptical, let me ask you a question. When you or your family are bathing, showering, or brushing your teeth in the morning, which one of these cancer-causing toxic agents is routinely being absorbed directly into your body through your tap water? A. Arsenic. B. Mercury. C. Nitrogen fertilizer. D. Weed killers. E. Pesticides. F. Chlorine. G. Or any one of the following prescription pharmaceutical medicines: antidepressants, medications for high blood pressure and diabetes, steroids, oral contraceptives, hormone replacement therapy medications, codeine, chemotherapy drugs, heart medications, antibiotics, and other prescription pharmaceuticals. Which answer did you choose? Did you choose A, arsenic? Or perhaps you chose E, pesticides? Because the correct answer is actually all of the above. And if this bothers you, then this video will be the most valuable and important health information you have ever seen. So without further ado, pay close attention and let's get started. If you're like most people, you probably think that the water that comes out of your tap for drinking, bathing, showering, and brushing your teeth is just fine. Even though it might smell badly once in a while, and even though it might taste funny every now and again, for the most part, you just assume it's safe. After all, you probably think that the government regulates tap water and that your local utilities are responsible for following those regulations, right? Of course, that's what most people think. But this is 100% incorrect. If this were true, the Flint, Michigan water crisis, where tens of thousands of children were exposed to drinking water with excessively high levels of lead and other chemicals, would never have happened. Here's what actually happens in reality. The Clean Water Act establishes regulations regarding discharging pollutants into the waters. The Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are then supposed to police and regulate the companies and manufacturers who are actually doing all the polluting. However, while a few big polluters who make the news are occasionally fined, like when a big oil company leaks an oil tanker into the ocean, in reality, it is literally impossible to police the massive numbers of manufacturers who are leaking highly toxic chemicals into local bodies of water on a daily basis. On top of that, corporate lawyers are far more powerful than government agencies and often get legal permits to dump illegal toxins directly into your own water supply. Again, since there are so few ways of getting caught, there are generally no consequences. And these chemicals, this pollution, winds up flowing directly into your home and directly out of your kitchen tap and your bathroom shower, all over your body. Which is why, in a formal written report issued directly to the President by the President's Cancer Panel, the following findings were pointed out. Number one, unfortunately, because of improper storage and disposal of chemicals and ineffective control of emissions into the water, many toxins that originate in manufacturing and industrial settings ultimately wind up affecting people far from their original source of contamination, which is why toxins from industrial and manufacturing sources wind up accumulating in the tissues of living organisms, including people. Number 2, chemicals improperly stored and disposed by industry and individuals alike soak into the soil and eventually leach into groundwater. Household tap water comes from this groundwater and from the rain that fills streams, reservoirs, rivers, lakes, and ultimately the oceans. Rainwater also absorbs pollution and chemicals in the air. The net result of all of this is that the water that comes out of your tap, the water you drink, cook with, brush your teeth, and bathe in, is steeped in varying mixtures of chemicals and other substances. Number 3, exposure to chromium, a chemical used in industrial manufacturing, is a known cause of lung, nasal, throat, and esophagus cancers. Hexavalent chromium also damages your cellular DNA. At this point, entire communities have been exposed to hexavalent chromium in water because of inappropriate disposal of the chemical. Number 4, mercury is released into the air through industrial pollution, contaminating food and water sources. It is a suspected carcinogen for brain and central nervous system cancers. Number 5, ingesting contaminated drinking water is the primary route of human exposure to nitrates from nitrogen fertilizers. Nitrates have been shown to cause tumors at multiple organ sites in every animal species tested, including neurological system cancers. On top of that, a study done in women found people drinking water with higher nitrate levels have an increased risk of bladder and ovarian cancer. The sad thing is, with increased production of corn for fuel, nitrate levels in drinking water are likely to continue a scary upward trend. And then there's the whole issue of pharmaceuticals. It's a miracle you haven't turned into a walking dead zombie already simply because of the amount of prescription drugs you're exposed to every single day in your water supply. Brace yourself, because what I'm about to tell you is going to hit you like a cold shower first thing in the morning. Again, according to the President's Cancer Panel report, pharmaceuticals have now become a very significant water pollutant nationwide. Excreted pharmaceuticals are now a significant pollution problem that is only increasing as the population ages and a growing percentage of people are prescribed medications to treat long-term and often severe health conditions. Medication typically found in local water supplies includes antidepressants, medications for high blood pressure and diabetes, medication to prevent convulsions and epileptic fits, steroid medications and oral contraceptives, hormone replacement therapy medications, addictive pain pills, chemotherapy drugs, heart medications and antibiotics, as well as non-prescription pain relievers. On top of this, because you aren't allowed to return unneeded or expired prescription drugs to the pharmacy, virtually all household pharmaceuticals wind up getting flushed down the toilet as their number one method of disposal. Let's pause here for just a minute because I want to ask you a serious question. In your opinion, how much pharmaceutical drugs should be allowed to show up in your local water supply? In other words, what amount of prescription drugs would you be comfortable bathing in, washing your dishes with, and drinking in your tap water? Now, if you're like most people, your answer is 0. After all, who wants to be drinking any kind of excreted or disposed pharmaceutical waste, right? Of course. And yet, the government hasn't even established limits on the amount of pharmaceuticals allowed in your drinking water. which means who knows what kind of medications, psychological and hormonal changes, and mind-altering and addictive drugs are being taken into your body right now on a daily basis. You don't need to be a medical doctor to understand the short and long-term damage being done to you and to every single member of your household from this alone. And the thought of this is downright scary. To get some more insight into this, let's go back to information that was included in the report by the President's Cancer Panel. One study showed that exposure to a complex mixture of medications at environmental levels can inhibit human embryonic kidney cell growth. This means your kidneys stop developing properly. What's even worse is the possible cancer-related effects of pharmaceuticals in drinking water aren't even known yet. The problem is, local water filtration plants are unable to remove dissolved medications that enter water systems after being excreted or poured into household drains or toilets. Public water filtration and treatment plants remove some contaminants, but they simply cannot remove them all. In fact, an analysis of more than 2 million drinking water test results acquired from 42 different states found 260 different contaminants in local tap water. And sadly, the problems are only getting worse. For example, perchlorate is a chemical that's a byproduct of rocket and missile testing. This chemical has now spread from numerous manufacturing sites into drinking water systems. Perchlorate is now part of the environment and has been detected in the urine of people in all parts of the United States. In your body, perchlorate accumulates in the thyroid gland and can wind up blocking your body's ability to absorb iodide, which is a chemical that is crucial for neurological development. Now imagine you go to the doctor and you are diagnosed with neurological problems. Let's face it, there's no way any medical professional will ever trace it back to all the perchlorate you've consumed in your water over the years, right? And this is why these issues never get dealt with and addressed, because it is literally impossible to tie everything together. So it becomes a situation of out of sight, out of mind. But clearly, this is an issue that needs to be dealt with before you get that medical diagnosis, not after. A recent study found powdered baby formula is now contaminated with perchlorate. The problem is, if perchlorate is also present in the tap water used to mix the formula, babies are being dosed twice with this harmful chemical, which is a huge problem because long-term exposure to perchlorate has also been shown to induce thyroid cancer in rats and mice. No doubt, these are scary thoughts to have to consider, especially when it comes to your infant children. Over in Europe, a powerful chemical called atrazine has been banned. Atrazine is a weed killer which has been shown to disrupt the balance of your hormones, and it also has cancer-causing properties. Here in the States, however, atrazine is approved by the FDA, which is crazy because a study by the University of California found that exposure to atrazine turned 75% of male frogs sterile, and actually turned 1 out of every 10 male frogs into female frogs. That's right. Exposure to atrazine actually caused male frogs to turn into female frogs. Another study reported that tadpoles developed deformed hearts, impaired kidneys, and digestive systems when chronically exposed to atrazine. In people, atrazine increases your risk of delivering babies prematurely. On top of this, intrauterine growth retardation has been associated with the chemical. And what's really scary is that today, atrazine is the #1 most commonly detected chemical in the drinking water that comes directly out of the tap in your home. And as if this wasn't enough, the President's Cancer Panel also revealed, in addition to pesticides, agricultural fertilizers and veterinary pharmaceuticals are major contributors to water pollution. And if you have children, pay close attention. because children are the ones who are the most devastated by the amount of cancer-causing agents in water. That's because pound for pound, children take in more water than adults do. Mind you, the sole purpose of the President's Cancer Panel is to report to the President directly the barriers that currently exist to make progress in reducing cancer, which means that this is a true third-party examination of what's going on. Members of the President's Cancer Panel have nothing to do with pollution, corporations, water, or anything else outside of making recommendations on how to reduce cancer. And don't kid yourself into thinking, okay, I'll switch to bottled water instead of tap water. For starters, even if all you drink is bottled water, is it realistic to think you can also use bottled water to wash, shower, and bathe in, and to wash your clothes and your dishes in? No. This is unrealistic and simply not possible. And even if you could do this, it still wouldn't help you. And here's why. Most people assume bottled water is cleaner than tap water, but this is simply not true. Bottlers are not required to disclose either the content or the source of their water. In fact, studies consistently show pollution levels in bottled water are all over the board. 10 brands were randomly tested for pollutants, and all of them were found to be no better than, and in some cases far worse than, the water that comes out of your tap. And that's because some bottled water literally comes from the same exact local, state, city, and municipal water supplies you're already using, with no additional filtration or other treatment. Half the brands tested contained bacterial contamination. 2 cancer-causing agents were found in some of the samples, along with caffeine, acetaminophen, and arsenic, which is very scary because arsenic found in drinking water has been linked to skin, lung, bladder, and kidney cancer in both sexes, as well as prostate cancer in men. It's also been linked with a number of non-cancerous but very serious conditions, including endocrine, reproductive, and cellular developmental health problems. Other cancer-causing toxins found in bottled water include radioactive isotopes, nitrates and ammonia from fertilizer residue, and industrial chemicals, including solvents, degreasing agents, and fuel. Please listen carefully to what the President's Cancer Panel report said. They said there are radioactive isotopes in some bottled water. Is that what you want to use? I don't think so. In addition to this, BPA, which is an industrial chemical used in the manufacture of plastics, can leach from the bottle itself into the water it contains and directly into your body. In fact, because using bottled water is basically a crapshoot, even the President's Cancer Panel made the following recommendation. Proper filtering of home tap or well water can decrease exposure to numerous known or suspected carcinogens and endocrine disrupting chemicals, which is why it is preferable to use filtered tap water instead of commercially bottled water. The Cancer Panel's report basically ended with a very strong emotional plea to the President, which read like this: we need to think about chemical use as a cancer issue and concern ourselves with protection of our water supplies from waste. The panel urges you most strongly to use the power of your office to remove the carcinogens and other toxins from our food, water, and air that needlessly increase healthcare costs, cripple our nation's productivity, and devastate American lives. I hope you can see how this danger from your water is very, very real. Now, if you're still with me at this point in time, you're probably asking yourself, why doesn't my local water treatment plant just filter all these chemicals out? And that's a great question, and it's one you deserve an answer to. The problem is, the public water utility systems are incredibly outdated. Current water treatment technology and government agencies simply can't keep up with the growing list of organic and chemical pollutants in your water, nor can they keep up with the dramatically increasing number of manufacturers and sources of this pollution either. On top of that, Your water travels through miles and miles of pipes that are 50 years old or more. Often these pipes are made of lead, and between their age and their construction, the pipes themselves are full of rust, sediment, and other hazardous waste. Local municipalities know this though. So what they do to try and eliminate as many chemicals from your water is they dump chlorine and other chemicals in the water, which in a way is good because chlorine kills some of those nasty disease-causing bacteria in the water. But guess what? You know why chlorine is able to kill some of those nasty bugs. The answer is simple, because chlorine is a poison. So you basically wind up swapping out one poison for another one in your body. It's like having to get chemotherapy to get rid of your cancer. Sure, the chemo kills a lot of the cancer cells, but it also kills all the other non-cancerous healthy cells it comes into contact with as well. Which means in reality, the solution to part of your problem now becomes a new problem you needed another solution for. Here, let me give you a quick demonstration that's going to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt how this is relevant to you and how your body is absorbing cancer-causing toxins every single time you turn on the tap water. Watch. This is a kit that tests chlorine in pool water. It turns the water yellow when chlorine is present. The darker yellow it is, the more chlorine is present. We do these tests all the time, and sadly, it's not uncommon to find some tap water actually has more chlorine in it than a swimming pool does. Now, here's another glass filled with the same tap water. Let's stir this with your fingers first before we test it. Now let's add the same test drops and you'll notice the chlorine's gone. Where did all the chlorine go? The answer is simple. 100% of that chlorine was absorbed right through the skin on your fingers. That's how easy it is for your body to absorb poison. And obviously, it's not just chlorine that gets absorbed into your skin when you're in the shower. It's all the other toxins and cancer-causing pollutants and chemicals that are also in your water all the time. And this has been going on for decades, which is why there are hundreds, if not thousands of articles, case studies, and medical tests in certified publications from the Environmental Protection Agency, the President's Cancer Panel, Harvard University, the New York Times, and on and on and on, all proving in no uncertain circumstances that bathing, showering, cooking, and drinking chlorinated water increases your risk for cancer without exception. Bottom line is, you're wiping out some of the cancer-causing toxins with another cancer-causing toxin. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Which one is worse? The truth is, which one is the lesser of these two evils is the wrong question to ask. Because you don't need to be a medical doctor to know that daily absorption of any cancer-causing toxins directly into your body is just flat out dangerous. The right question to ask is, how can I get clean tap water that doesn't force my body to absorb cancer-causing chemicals and prescription medications? After all, this doesn't seem like an unfair question to get an answer to, does it? Especially in today's day and age where technology in all other areas is moving along at lightning speed. The problem is, the average American has no idea these biological contaminants are lurking inside of what we think is this beautiful, clear tap water. But it's really not. In fact, it's a silent but deadly killer. Most homeowners have no idea how bad things have gotten. And as you know, the problem isn't getting better. It's actually getting much worse. And while there are hundreds of health risks associated with all of the toxins lurking in your water, there's also an impact on your daily life as well. And I'm not just talking about water that tastes bad or smells foul from time to time, or water no one wants to cook with, or water that ruins or bleaches or discolors your clothing when you wash it, or water that simply doesn't feel good to shower or bathe in. I'm talking about things like skin rashes and the constant itching and flaking that so many people are experiencing. This happens because every time you take a bath or shower, the pores in your skin open up, and chlorine and other toxic chemicals come pouring in. This causes irritation, acne, and a complete imbalance of healthy skin bacteria. And the net impact of this is it makes your skin incredibly dry, to the point where loads of people think they have eczema. But in reality, they just have skin that's constantly being destroyed day by chlorine and all the other toxins in your water system. Chlorine, chemicals, and toxins cause wrinkles and pasty, dry, blotchy skin that's unattractive, uncomfortable, and unhealthy. These pollutants also damage the oil and mineral balance of your skin cells, resulting in dried out, dead skin cells. This is why so many people have dry, peeling skin, which makes the surface of their skin look shiny. But the problem doesn't stop with your skin alone. Your water is also destroying your hair. All this exposure to completely unnatural chemicals makes your hair very tough to manage. If you're a woman, hair coloring doesn't last as long. It also makes your scalp dry and your hair brittle, and it just dulls the look and softness of your hair. Chlorine actually burns the tips of your hair off. It increases hair loss, and it also increases the number of split ends you have. Sometimes the problem gets so bad, it does make the news. Just ask Jennifer Hall Massey. Her family was featured in a New York Times story about the clean water laws. In fact, Jennifer's entire family tries to avoid any contact with tap water. Her youngest son has scabs on his arms, legs, and chest where the bath water, polluted with lead, nickel, and other heavy metals, caused painful and ongoing rashes. Many of her other sons' teeth had to be capped to replace the enamel that was eaten away by the chemicals in her water. Jennifer's neighbors had just as many problems. They need to apply one prescription lotion after another after showering because their skin burns. Testing has shown their tap water contains arsenic, barium, lead, manganese, and other chemicals at concentrations so high, federal regulators say they contribute to cancer and damage the kidneys and nervous system. Now, Jennifer's story is obviously dramatic, and you may not be experiencing any of the same symptoms her family experienced. But does this mean your tap water is safe? Far from it. Just because you don't have any visible symptoms such as rash, skin irritation, or bad smell, doesn't mean your water isn't filled with cancer-causing toxins. The truth is, the only accurate way of knowing exactly what toxins are in your water, what dangerous chemicals you and your family are being exposed to on a daily basis, is to get your water tested to see how bad the problem is. And in a minute, I'll tell you how you can get a complete, thorough water testing for free. It's important to get your water tested because things have gotten so bad. Ignoring this is putting your life and the lives of your family at risk. After all, this stuff is invisible. You might think your water is perfect because you can't see anything wrong with it. But remember, you can't see cancer and high blood pressure either. And they are two of the leading causes of death. The truth is, your water might look great, but chances are it is filled with cancer-causing toxins, which get absorbed deeper and deeper into your body every single day, contributing to your ultimate demise, perhaps a lot sooner than necessary. Your tap water is silently poisoning you, slowly killing you, and really making you sick. But the only way you'll know for sure is to have it professionally tested. And here's how you can do this quickly and easily. Simply grab your phone right now and call our National Water Testing Hotline at 716-332-4400, or click the link below and order your free tap water chemical analysis kit. We normally charge $97 for this, but if you call right now, we'll ship you your tap water chemical analysis kit along with instructions directly to your home for free. So go ahead and order your free tap water chemical analysis kit right now while it's fresh on your mind and before anything else comes up.